So in debt now, ruined my credit, trying to grow my company, but I couldn't get a loan or anything like that, so I had to pay for everything with cash. So in 2012, we actually got a call, and it was for the 12-story Marriott in Spartanburg. And the guy called me, he's like, yeah, we really want the soft washing done on the building, and can you come out and meet? And I was like, yeah, when can you, I'll be out there whenever you want me to. So went out and met with him, and he was the maintenance engineer for the whole Marriott. He was there from the beginning of the building of the construction, and so he knew every avenue, what was on the building, sandstone, stucco, all these surfaces. And so I'm meeting with him and everything, and I got my brochures out, I got my pictures and everything, and I'm playing the part, right? And then so I actually called AC, I think, yeah, it was AC at the time, and he's like, man, you're not ready for that. This is when I have my one truck, my one Dodge Ram 1500 with a soft wash skid in it, and he's like, you can't handle it, we'll get somebody else to do it. And I'm like, no, I'm doing this, like, I'm gonna do this. And he's like, no, it's too big. And I just saw the opportunity. I was like, man, this is my big break. This was like, $60-something thousand job. And I was like, I need to get it done. So we ended up doing the Marriott, and when we got into the quoting process, I had to, they were drilling me. So luckily, I was like, man, how am I going to plan this out? I got a really big Marriott. I got a 200, it was like it was 200 feet wide by 300-foot parking garage on the front of it. Then we had a restaurant on the back of it, and we only had 3 points where we could put a lift or a crane or a rappel from the building, so I'm trying to figure all this out. Well, we ended up renting the largest crane out of Colombia. It was a $1 million crane. They had to get another crane to assemble the crane on site so we can do this thing. So I'm calling around. I called the crane company, like, yeah, we can definitely do it. We had to put, the 3/4-inch plywood down so we don't mess up the pavers and everything. So I game planned the whole Marriott. I blew it up on Google Maps, and I highlighted what section we were going to do each day. And I knew they were going to want to know what we were going to do each day. But I didn't know that I was going to walk into a meeting with 18 of the owners, managers, investors, everything. I didn't know that. So when I walk into the conference area, I'm like, whoa. Hey, how's it going? So luckily I did that. I had a game plan, what I was going to do, what I was going to clean on the sandstone, how we were going to do it. So I had my little spiel, right? So I had to basically preach it to the whole table. And we ended up landing it, right? So that was the kind of the turning point again, because we landed that big job. We had cash flow. Now I could buy those 5 vehicles. So we ended up doubling our business in 2012 to 13. Everything was going really good. We're banging things out. Ended up doing $189,000 in 1 month in revenue. So we were doing really, really good. In 2013, I started the Charlotte branch. And I was like, man, I'd like to branch out. We were doing actually some work up there, TPO, flat roofs in Charlotte. I'm like, we really need to just branch out there. And my brother-in-law was like, hey, Pat, what does a branch manager make and stuff like that? And we got talking, so he started doing it. So 2014 was going pretty good, had a little bit of hiccups. I was learning a lot, having my brother-in-law being the branch manager of the Charlotte branch, and I was going up there 3 days out of the week, basically starting that whole company from scratch. The first year it did like $85,000, the second year it did $187,000, and the third year, before we closed it down, was going to do $350,000. But in 2015, we closed the North Carolina branch. Everything felt like it was kind of crushing. My brother-in-law, he was butting heads with me. He's like, Pat, I went to college, you didn't. He was trying to change the systems. Some things were happening. And it just didn't work out. I was going up there a lot. It was a lot on my family because I was up there 3 days out of the week. And Greenville started to go down because Pat can only push the ball so much in one area, right? So Greenville started dipping then, and Charlotte was, every time I went up there, I would put numbers on the board, but when I would leave, they weren't following the systems. The oil changes weren't getting done, so when I came up there, I'm like, what's wrong with this car? I'd bring it right across the street to the mechanic, and sludge would come out. They didn't change the oil. And I was like, man, what is going on? I have these systems, but it's not working, right? So that's when I really learned a lot. I learned the hard way, you know what I mean? I learned. So anyway, so in 2015, we were on this really large project, actually, in $100,000 project in Mobile, Alabama. and I got that phone call on the project that your mom's got 8 hours to live. I'm 9 hours away. Not happy about it. I'm just like, how am I going to get back home? You know, I'm out on this project. I got 2 crews there. I'm managing these crews, and it was really, really tough. Luckily, the guy that one of my lead techs stepped up. He's like, Pat, you go. I'm going to take care of this project. You go. And I tried to get a flight out of there, but something was going on that weekend. It was on a Friday, and something was going on. I couldn't get a flight out. They were all booked, and then I couldn't even rent a car because they were all booked up. And I'm going up there. I'm going down here. I'm like trying to man, I need to get out there. Well, my mom had a stroke at 12 o'clock at lunchtime, and so she got up from after eating lunch, and then she collapsed. And they didn't tell me. They didn't call me till like 6 o'clock that day. And I was like, man, she's got 8 hours to live. So I finally found a rental car. I don't remember where it was, but I'm flying back home. And it was like, when was it? 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. My wife was there, and I wasn't going to make it. Her breathing was going down and everything, so she put the phone up to her ear and everything. I'm like, Mom, I'm right here. I'm on my way. I love you, that kind of stuff. So it was really, really tough. 2015 was tough. 4 months later, my wife's mom had cancer, and it went away for like a year, and then it just came back. 4 months she passed away. 4 months later, it was so fast, and then she passed away. And we were like, what is going on? Like, man, it was really hard. 2018 or 2016, we kind of just wrote it out. Like, I was like, I'm not gonna try pushing this thing, and we were like just in this like dull, still, thing. It was really, really tough. But Joshua Latimer talks about the people only see the wine and not the crushing of the grapes. So like going back to that kind of stuff, you guys are going through stuff, and man, this guy can do it. You can do it. There's a lot of struggles and trials and all that stuff, but guess what? You're gonna have lashes, you're gonna have scars on your back, but in the end, it's gonna pay off. You're gonna be better off in the end. All right, so now we're gonna talk about being intense and intentional. So for us, it's gearing up our marketing. So this is when we're gonna do 40 to 50,000 flyers. So we do a burst, and in the beginning of the year, we're gonna do a big burst. I don't do that every month. We'll do bursts of it every month, and then we'll trickle down, and then we'll do other things. But you do a big burst of it, 40,000. Some guys are like, well, I got 1,000 out this month, but I only got 1 call. You got to do big numbers on these kinds of things, and then it's building relationships after that. But plan out when your marketing goes out. So what marketing are you going to do this year? Focus in tighter. So from your office, you're going to want to spiral out. You guys already know in your areas what markets are good, what neighborhoods are good, all that stuff. You know your target market. We used the year before to mark out when your busy and slow times are. So we talked about that previously. But we're going to go deeper in this. So mark out the year in advance. Predict ups and downs and how you're going to plan to deal with them. So like for us, July, everybody goes away in July, right? So slow in July. Well, we kind of predict it now. So July, we're booked in July because we predict it. We know it's slow. So what do? We prepare for it. I'm going to show you guys how. So we have this big, and in my office, when you walk into my office, on my wall, I have an 8-foot by 4-foot, basically business plan that everybody sees when they come in the office. And I have every month marked out. And these are green, so let's see if this laser will work. So these are green. These are the days we can work. So from the previous years, I actually can track now what days we can get in a month. Due to rain, anniversaries, school's out, all this stuff. You want to dig deep. And then you'll see up here, that's our burst of flyers. So we're going to put out a burst of flyers right here to kickstart it. And then we have put in bids for apartment complexes. When you're going to do that. When's budget season? Somebody tell me, when's budget season for apartment complexes and concrete cleaning and all that stuff? October, yes, October. So what are you going to do before October? I'm going to put in 500 proposals, and then I'm going to mail them out. So you do these kind of things. You put it in. You know what your income's going to be. This was back when I bought my shop. Payroll was $8,000 a week. These kinds of things. You put them on there so you know mentally where you're going, what it's at now, where you want to be. And then you have a whole game plan on the wall. So like, if somebody's like, what are we going to do this month? Go look at the wall. but laying it out. So print out 6 months. So do this. Like when you guys get back home, if you haven't done this, you need to do it. Print out 6 months, highlight holidays, and your bursts of marketing. When are your slow periods? And then work back from that. What am I going to do to focus in on my slow periods? You know, don't be that guy, well, it's slow, I'm just going to deal with it. Don't deal with it. Do it. You hear, you know, I have this saying, Goya, and I don't really like to swear, but it says, get off your ass, right? So think about Goya when you're in those moments, you're like, because as business owners, sometimes we don't have that accountability, right? I'll be like, I'm going to stay home today. But in reality, we're not out there, we're not getting it. So we don't have somebody like telling us what to do each day. We got to make it up. We got to set ourselves, just like Mitch was saying. Well, put a dollar amount on every, or amount on each week and month. So know what your amount, your number is. Put it on there. You know, if you want to do $30,000 in a month, put it on there, and then how you're going to get to it. When you need to do a marketing push. So again, so you got your 6 months out. You know when you need to do it. In the beginning of the year, you got to do it, right? So whenever your year starts. For us, it's March. So March, we're going to put out a big burst. But keep looking back to previous years. The more, the better. So the more years you have, guess what? You have graphs every year. You just print them out, put them on paper. You have graphs every year. You can actually look and see what you're going to, you know, projected to do. And you can also make predictions. So start with holidays and weather patterns. Predict how these may affect how many days you can work, because that affects your monthly goal. If you can only work 2 weeks out of a month, you know, that's half of 30 grand. That's 15 grand. So then how do you, you know, go from there? But back up from each slow period and mark out to increase marketing. So basically what I did there, I just put, bam, we need to do burst of flyers. So what does that tell me? The month before that, I gotta clip 40,000 flyers, you know what I mean, to have to put out, right, and whatever else you're gonna do. So you wanna dominate. How many in here wanna dominate your market? Everybody, all right, good. So reach out to your customer base frequently. I didn't do this, guys. When I first started my company, everything is in a calendar, a book, what do you call those? The daily planner things for each day for the year. And all my contacts were in there. I was writing them down. I was like, oh, you want a house wash? Great. Miss Susie, $300 house wash, you know, her address, her phone number. I have books, stacks of them. I'm like, I'm such an idiot. Now we got Service Monster, you know, House Call Pro, and you can put all this stuff in here. Your clientele is gold, absolutely gold. This year for us, all I have to do is, let's see. Oh man, we were going over this. So I do discount on packages, right? So you can save up to 20% and stuff like that, up to 30% on Clean It All special. If I do 15%, so if I just drop 15% off of what I do right now, we'll be over $1.2 million just by that. Do you hear that? Drop raise your prices 15% by just discounting my package 15%. And we're gonna be over, you know, 1.2 million. Just by doing that one little niche. How do I know that now? Because tracking these numbers and stuff like that. But regular meetings, you gotta let everybody know about it. We talked about that. Keep your vision in front of you. Scorekeeping is huge. Again, putting the numbers on the board. What you did that month. You know, replicate your wins. If you got $30,000 that month and you do 35, go out to dinner. Do whatever you gotta do. Like I take my guys go-kart riding, we go bowling, we go roller skating. You know, make it fun. But farmers don't plant corn and expect beans, right? So whether you're a farmer or not, you're gonna plant something, and weed's gonna grow. So if you're not out there marketing, you don't have the Goya, a weed's gonna grow. So what you plant will grow. So you think you can't, but you think you can, you're right. So if you think you can or you think you can, you're right, right? So keep that in mind. If you're just sitting at home, you're still planting. Those weeds are gonna grow whether you like it or not. But set goals. So down here, when we first got started, this is our residential invoice. I had $180,000 on residential work, and then we had apartment, multifamily, I had 90. I have 5 different other categories that I want to go after, right? You got to go after. What are you going after? So apartments, multifamily, then you got hospitality, healthcare, all these things. Put them down, and then guess what? Just draw them out. Little index cards. All right, how am I going to go after them now? Am I going to do unsolicited bids? Am I going to do walk-ups? Am I going to have a lunch and learn? Like things like these. Put them down. Brainstorm. There's a program called MindMeister, and you can basically just spit out all your thoughts on MindMeister. You've heard about it, mind mapping. It's called mind mapping. But you can just spit out all your thoughts on there, and then you can actually go back and then make categories and stuff like that. So it's called MindMeister. It's actually a pretty cool program, because when I'll wake up in the middle of the night and I'm like, oh, my mind is just racing. I'm like, I can't go to sleep. I got to get up and write this down. And then I'll just spit it out on the computer there. But break large goals down into smaller weekly and daily goals. Make sure your team understands what it will take to reach your goals. Huge. And then stick to it. If you don't meet it, things happen. Sometimes you don't meet your goals. Just reset a little bit. And I guarantee you, if you had a $35,000 goal, but you didn't reach it, but you were $5,000 higher than you were the previous month, are you still happy with it? Heck yeah, you just made $500,000. So keep looking at your. The beginning of the year is overwhelming. So keep looking at the goals and keep banging out your plan. Even if you fall behind, adjust and move forward. So getting overwhelmed just wastes valuable time. So these are that's our commercial brochure that we give out. So we'll go, and we don't give it out the first initial contact. We'll introduce ourselves, and I don't give them any information. I'm just like, okay, great, have a great day. And I'll walk out, and they're like, what in the world? So most people leave a business card or brochure. The next time, then I might leave something or something like that. That's our initial contact flyer that we were talking about, that I fold in half and put the binder clip on. That's what it looks like. And then that's the trucks racing right there. So again, reward for goals met. Your team gets discouraged too. So keep them motivated by rewarding them by the small achievements. And then reward techs who are working in the heat, not just the sales guys, because the sales guys are bringing in, so you're like, dude, I'm going to give this guy more money, you know what I mean? So my guys, if they sell over 10 grand in a week, they get $250 bonus. Sam's been at 14 grand for a little while now, and he just bangs it out. He likes that $250. He's like, I don't have to let my wife know about it. I didn't say that. All right, so regular meetings, again, I always talk about regular meetings, because meetings really, I'm going to drive it home with the meetings, because you got to have meetings. We didn't do meetings previously, and then nobody really knew what they were doing, and I wasn't talking to my team, and they were going a different direction. So now we literally have, meetings every day. No, I'm not joking. We have meetings every day. It's kind of crazy, but it might be a 30-minute meeting. It might be an hour meeting. Sometimes the meeting might go an hour and a half, depending on what we're doing and how busy we are. So meetings are very, 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 very important. But it's resetting attitudes. Regularly keeps morale up and the team strong. So one guy was burnt out. He was doing all my commercial work, going out of town. He'll come back, and then I'll switch him out and stuff. Well, he just up and left one day. He just didn't come back. And I wasn't talking to him. I wasn't giving him those attaboys. You see him, everybody slapping the butt at the end of the game, right? You gotta slap those guys on the butt because they feel like they're a part of it. It's crazy, but it is true. And then promote healthy competition. So humans are driven by competition. We talked about that. The goals, pick an opponent, keeping score, and then play the game. So if it's just you or your team, look yourself in the mirror every single day and remind yourself where you're headed. I had this crazy guy, Jody Stedman. So he was like a lieutenant colonel in the military. This guy he was nuts, to be honest with you. I think he had post-traumatic stress, but really nice guy, but he was just driven, in your face, loud. So when he first came on with me, he did this. That's where I got it from. He was like, when he told me that he had to go and get these soldiers ready for war, he would have to literally go in front of the mirror and look at himself and watch his facial features and everything and yell at himself in the mirror, and then he would go out and then he would do it to his team. So it works. It's you got to kind of get over your spiel. So for me, Leo claps a magma on roofs, right? he had to say that 100 different times so he can say it to the customer. But this is how he did it, so it's kind of funny. But when I first hired him, he was a guy that just, he didn't have the belief, I don't know where he got it from, but he was selling $350 jobs. When I first hired him, I don't know, 6 years ago, right? So he's selling these $350, I'm like, Sam, or I'm sorry, Jody, what are you doing? And he's like, what do you mean? I'm getting all these jobs. Look at all these jobs that are coming in. I'm like, they're $350. What are you doing? You know, you're on 15% commission. Why aren't you getting the $1,000 jobs? What are you know? He's like, no, these guys can't afford it. And I'm like, no, you're not focusing. So I really had to, you know, tell him what we were doing. I'm like, what are you doing on the pricing? And then some people were like, well, I'm a vet, and like he was the softie. He was like, well, he didn't have any money, so he would like discount it down. And I noticed on the math and stuff, because on our invoice, 3 people have to check the boxes. So like when they go do a quote, I have to approve the quote before it goes to dispatch. So whenever they do it, I collect all their numbers and everything on our invoice. I make sure all the math is right. And so he was like throwing things in for free, and you could tell he was just trying to sell it, like to get income. But he was thinking volume, not you know, value, basically the big jobs. So I had to talk to him. He's like, he got all mad. He was in my face. I'm like, dude, you have to do this. This is the system. He's like, fine. He's like, I'll do it. You'll see. I'm not going to get any money. And like this, you know. But ended up 2 weeks. I think it was 2 weeks later. He like landed a $2,500 job, $3,500 job. He's like, Pat. He's like, the guy's rolling in like $2,500 checks every week. And like, I'm like, I told you. He's like, yeah, you're right. You know what I mean? So it was funny just seeing that, because it's just, you don't know what you don't know. It's kind of crazy. But reward yourself when you reach milestones. So whenever you do that, reward yourself. All right, so now what we're going to do, this is where it's going to get kind of crazy. So where's Doug at? All right, Doug, we're going to break up into here. Good. We got like what? 15 minutes, 20 minutes? So we're going to break up into small groups. So I'm going to hand these folders out. We're going to break up into small groups. We're going to get 8 people in each group. And don't worry about the chairs. We're going to put them all back. So get 8 people, and you can, you know, move them wherever you want if you know some people.
Probably the best thing to do is just like this row is your group. This row is a group.
Yeah, that'll work. Yeah.
By rows we got
That'll
1,
work.
2,
Let's do
3,
that.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8 groups.
8 groups. So let's do that. So take your chairs, and we're going to go into small groups. Just make them into a circle. Like we'll do kind of like this, kind of spread out.
This is going to be great, you guys. This is going to be very, very helpful, I promise you.
Yes.
You're not going to feel uncomfortable. Oh, you might. I don't know. Yeah.
Stuff. Hey man, hey man. Yes, we got those groups. Alright, cool. Yes, we got. Is it off? Oh, is it? Oh, I thought those yeah, we're trying to keep a little bit spread because we're going to be talking, so some of the groups will be kind of loud doing the questions and stuff. Cool. Alright. So you guys what we're going to do now, get everybody kind of settled in here. So once you guys get settled into your group, this is the handout. We're going to have one facilitator in the group. So you guys talk amongst yourselves, but one facilitator is going to keep everything kind of moving. So pick a facilitator per group. And then when you get your facilitator, stand up. I want the facilitator to stand up.
Whatever row you are sitting in, this group you need to be in.
Yeah, jump in there. All right, facilitator, awesome. Oh, cool, perfect. All right, facilitator. All right, so once you get your facilitator, you got your piece of paper, stand up. That way I know everybody's got it. Okay, good. Everybody got the facilitator? All right, awesome. Okay. All right, you guys can sit down now. All right. So we got about 15 minutes to get through this stuff right here. Usually it takes about 20 minutes. Not too bad. But on your piece of paper right here, it's going to say split up into groups, 8 or more. Ask your group the icebreaker question. So right here, so facilitators, just go through this right here. So ask your questions through your group, and then we're just gonna, have each person answer the question. So go ahead and do that. You guys got about 60 seconds per person on this one.
Why did you guys come to this event?
My boss said, yeah, see what's happening. Plain and simple. He's got stuff in the office, so he sent me.
I'm here to learn how to grow. One-man show.
One word.
Yeah, now don't go to the next question yet. So once you guys are done, facilitator, raise your hand after your group is done. And what we'll do, you guys can kind of keep talking. We're going to wait for everybody to finish, and then we'll go to the next question.
Yeah, ProWash store guys were here last week.
They don't have anybody
So many services. Find the ones that are most profitable. Who's spray wash? Is that a Edinburgh? Yeah.
I mainly do commercial work, about 90% of those fall commercial. But I do residential as well, house soft washing, stuff like that.
There's more. He said don't ask the next question.
Not yet. So once you guys are done with that, just raise facilitator, raise your hand. That way I know your group is done. And then we got a larger group back there. We'll wait, and then we'll go to the information center.
I do residential and commercial, but also.
What company you work for?
No, not yet. So is everybody done their first 60 seconds? Everybody done? Okay. All right, so let's go ahead now. We're going to go to the information segment. So facilitator, go on the next question. And
What was the best farm marketing you did last year? What was the best
No, you're fine.
marketing you did last year?
What was something you got?
He's not really interested, so sure.
Facebook, one of them. We set up a page and everybody's word of mouth. They're the two of the best.
You know, like information on the show.
yeah, today from this event. Yeah, from this event.
So what is something you've done that you've got today?
In our neighborhood, on our own street.
Montgomery?
I'm not sure if you really call it marketing.
You're commercial farm.
Yeah, but I know logging really helped our